So we have a full moon happening Friday, January the 6th, 2023. The first full moon of the year, and it comes to its crescendo like mid-afternoon in California, here where I live. I think around like just before 3 p.m. And this full moon is happening in the lunar mansion, the nakshatra that's called Punarvasu. And I think this is a really nice full moon to have in the new year, this year. It's a natural time, and this is partly why you have this natural time where we collectively think about our prosperity, don't we, during the new year. And Punervasu is the nakshatra that has the Shakti, the power, the special power to become prosperous again, to become wealthy again, to become light again. So it has this connotation of returning to an already existing prosperity, returning back to a prosperous state. When I think of prosperity, I don't think of money. This isn't the first and foremost thing that comes to my mind. Although, of course, our money is part of our prosperity, but every domain of our life is part of our prosperity. How does prosperity look in our financial domain? How does prosperity look in our family domain, or our relationship domain, or the domain of our friends, or the domain of having fun and having a good time in life? These are all different domains of our life that we can look at through the different houses of the zodiac, but also we can reflect upon generally as well. Well, how are we doing? How are we doing in our hearts? How are we doing in our hearts when it comes to our love life? How are we doing in our hearts when it comes to our friends' life, our friend life, our circle of friends, our relationships with our friends, our relationships, how about with our mother? Punarvasu, this nakshatra, this lunar mansion, is ruled by the deity Aditi, the mother of all the gods. So it's also a very expansive moon, and it's a very nurturing moon, the mother of all the gods, Aditi, so the primal kind of mother goddess force of life. And so these are natural energies that are occurring. That's what's so handy and so useful about paying attention to the mythologies around the different types of astrological patterns. It helps us to tune into the natural rhythms that are happening in our life and help us to blossom in a way that is right on time for what's going on in general right now and in the world, and also what's going on uniquely in each of our own lives right now. To become prosperous again, to become wealthy again. This is Punervasu. And so this is happening on Friday, January the 6th is the full moon. Right at the peak of this, right at the crescendo of this full moon in the Life Force Academy, we'll be doing one of our really inspiring and fun full moon journeys, and I want to invite you to join us for that. There's a link here that you can access. It's free for everyone to be a part of, and it's the kickoff for our 11-day prosperity challenge that's beginning next week. But the other thing that's happening right now, particularly in this month of January 2023, is that Saturn is about to change signs. And this is always a big deal in astrology when it happens, because it doesn't happen very often. The moon changes signs every 2.5 days. The moon changes lunar signs every day, but the moon changes the solar signs like we know, Aries, Taurus, Gemini, etc., at approximately 2 to 2.5 days. For Saturn, it's 2.5 years. So the last time Saturn changed signs was right before the pandemic hit. And so in January of 2020 is when Saturn moved into Capricorn. And now here we are in January 2023, and Saturn is about to move finally for good into Aquarius, where really Saturn's strongest point. It's called its Mul Trikona sign. It's its home. Saturn is the ruler of Aquarius in Vedic astrology, and it's considered his Mul Trikona sign. So it's an especially powerful point for Saturn. Aquarius has to do with friends, doesn't it? Aquarius has to do with all of humanity, the well-being. Aquarius has to do with technology as well. So maybe in these next couple of years, we'll see great advancements in certain ways of communications, how we all communicate together. We've seen so much even in the last couple of years. But I think in the next 2 to 2.5 years, it would be very reasonable to expect we're going to see some pretty fantastic things that come on the technological level. Aquarius can be intense. It can be a bit warlike, but it also can be about innovation and improvement in the brotherhood and the sisterhood and the humanity of all peoples, and then we can include all living beings into that. When you take it to its more subtle level, you become concerned about all beings capable of feeling. And that's what we say, all sentient beings. So this is a big shift for all of us. And depending on each of our unique horoscopes, that will determine then specifically for us. That's we can talk Saturn moving into Aquarius on the big level, on the general global level. But what might it mean specifically for us? That would depend on our own horoscopes. And so depending on what your horoscope is will determine where in your horoscope and what house does Aquarius sit. And that's Saturn is moving into that domain of your life for the next 2.5 years. So if you know your Vedic chart, you can look at where is Aquarius and what house is Aquarius, and you can see, well, that whatever that house represents for you is going to be in a certain important way accentuated over these next 2.5 years. And then it'll be up to us to experience what that means in real life. But this stuff is helpful. It does help. Just like you want to know, like last night here in Northern California, we had this big storm come through, this winds and rain, and it was like everybody was saying National Weather, or California Weather Service, potentially damaging winds, widespread power outages. Well, it was good. Thankfully, that didn't happen for us, but it did for many others. But it's good to know that type of stuff, because then you prepare. And so if challenging things do come our way, when we're prepared for them, then we can experience those challenging things in not such a stressful way. Because the thing about it when we're talking astrology is there's no real negative thing. Negative is only in relative to, is it challenging, is it difficult, or is it smooth, and is it easy, and is it expansive? Is it contracting, or is it expanding? This type of thing. When you approach it more like a yogi's astrology, then both the positive and the negative all the same, because there's certain blessings in that challenge that you could never get from it being smooth and easy and expansive. So this is the beautiful thing about working with these types of, sure, use astrology, but using it in a yogic way, and that's what I've been reflecting on for this full moon and this coming month and this coming year ahead, really. Life is asking us to put our energy in certain areas. And there is something that is endeavoring to be born through all of our lives in this season, uniquely in this season. And so this is a full moon where we can tune into that. And then we begin our 11-day prosperity challenge next week. It starts on January the 10th. And I want to invite you to be a part of all of that. You can click through to join into the full moon prosperity journey, prosperity activation that we'll be doing. If you can't be there live on Friday, January the 6th, that webcast will be available for you all the way through January the 10th. And then it'll expire, but you have between January 6th to January 10th to experience this. And it's a beautiful experience. It will lift you up. You feel good in the body and the mind. Feel happy in the heart. Give it a try. It's free to attend that. The link is here. Would love to have you a part of it. See you there. Happy New Year. Happy full moon.